Hey everyone, Brian Eckberg here. We're talking about Deus Ex Human Revolution. I'm joined by Jonathan Jacques Beltate, art director on the game. We've seen the trailer. So where did you guys start with the trailer? What did you guys want to accomplish with this trailer?
Well, we started quite a while ago. Probably like not too long after the acquisition from Square Enix, we started working right away on it with Visualworks, which is the CGI studio of Square Enix, and Goldtooth, which is a company that helped us like greatly pulling this whole thing together and coming up with the story that's in it, coming up with like how it works within the teaser and everything. So what we first started looking into is like what parts of the story we wanted in it, how we wanted to tell it, and there's a lot of symbolism and a lot of like motifs and metaphors in Deus Ex Human Revolution. So we wanted to make sure that in that short amount of time in the teaser, those things actually do come across, and I think it works quite well, and people are going to ask a lot of questions about this and what's the origin of all those things and how does it fit within Cyberpunk and how does it fit within the license. Even though it's CGI, it's very, very close to the game's visuals in terms of the feeling and the stylization and the color palette, and it's very, very faithful to the in-game assets. Like we actually gave Visualworks our in-game assets and everything, which they shot them up in the stratosphere, literally. Like it's just the work they do is completely insane, but it's really what we have in the game as a foundation, and that's what's great about the teaser. As crazy as it looks like, if you see the game, it's like, okay, yeah, that's it's one and the same. It's huge. We're really, really happy with it, and it's really what the game is all about. Yeah.
One of the things I think people will be surprised to find out is that it was done by Visualworks. They're the guys who do the Final Fantasy trailers, but a completely different look from what you're used to seeing in Final Fantasy games. Can you talk about their input into the trailer and what they added from a design standpoint?
Yeah, I would actually start by saying that the team on Deus Ex were all big fans of some of the games that are made in Asia and stuff like that in terms of aesthetics and everything, myself included. So we were totally stoked that they were doing the visuals for the teaser, and obviously like they also had to adapt to some of the stuff that's kind of more of a North American way of doing, visuals and stuff like that. They just really nailed it. Like they looked at our designs and our concepts and the models that we sent them, and they really, really respected them. But stuff like if you look at the hair and everything, like you can really see like this is Square Enix's way of doing hair, which I think is the best 3D hair anyway. So I was like, that's what I wanted. I was like, don't try anything else. Just do it like you guys do it. That's really what I wanted. But the thing about Visualworks, about Square Enix is just everything that they do in terms of CGI is just the top of what can be done at any point. So it was just really making sure that it respected what we needed to convey visually, with like the story, the communication that the visuals had to do. It's an aesthetic that I love what they do, and I was really happy to see that coming through the teaser and still making sure that it worked for North America. But it's kind of to me, it's an awesome hybrid of what they do and what we do, and I think it gives a very, very unique flavor to our teaser.
Well, let's talk about the presentation you gave yesterday on the game. During that presentation, you mentioned sort of the design aesthetic you were going for was almost an illustrated look. Can you talk about that and how that relates to not just the trailer but the game itself?
Absolutely, it relates to the game in a big way, and even the teaser has a bit of a even though it's like super crazy pre-rendered CGI, it does retain a good aspect of stylization, even though it's still way more realistic than the in-game, but it's still there. The idea behind it is that, first of all, we want to be a bit different, but like we truly believe that the game needs to feel like just one whole kind of universe, right? That where like everything fits together and it seems to be all kind of part of the same design. Everything is conceptualized. What it looks like on paper, that's what we want it to look like in the game. So it just kind of makes this even, spread out look. And for the characters, like we really strongly believe that by reducing a bit of the photorealism, if you want, like if you kind of bring it back to something that's a little more expressive, like you keep the details like mostly where the expressions are at, like the mouth and the eyes and the eyebrows and really where those muscles are at. And then you get your animation right. That's where people are going to focus, and people are going to get all the emotion that the characters are trying to convey and what they're saying and everything. They'll focus on that, and they won't focus on all these little kind of extremely like photorealistic details that are kind of all around that are, to me, a little kind of just noise around all that thing, So that's definitely one of the reasons. Also, we find that it gives us the opportunity to have more kind of characterization to the characters, like really kind of bring out their personality through their designs, and it's kind of, I find it helps if they're stylized, kind of bring out those things, kind of over exaggerate the features a little bit, but it's really not all that push. It's like the game is not cartoony one bit. It has nothing to do with that. The characters don't look like caricatures or anything by far. What we say is that it looks like a graphic novel. and it feels like just one universe that fits within that graphic novel. You know, like everything just is kind of like one and the same. You know, coming from the same visual eye from all the artists on the team that agree to work within those boundaries, basically.
Well, I should ask you about some of the symbolism we see in the trailer, and maybe how it relates to the game. We see references to Greek mythology, the Renaissance, Rembrandt. Tell us what you can about how all these things meld together in the trailer and how they reflect things in the game as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It all stems from when we first started working on the game about 3 years ago now, and the first summer was really just kind of replaying the game and trying to figure out where we're going in terms of gameplay and visuals and whatnot. And then quite early, it became obvious that we wanted to really kind of focus as a main theme with transhumanism and post-humanism and all that stuff, and where like cybernetics was going, in the next like 20, 30 years. But then while I was like researching that, I started seeing all the stuff from Leonardo da Vinci and all those sketches and the anatomical studies and everything. I kind of saw like a very strong link between the Renaissance and the Cyberpunk era. It kind of became obvious that if the Renaissance was the first time, especially in Europe, we kind of honestly started analyzing the human body and dissecting it and seeing how it works and really kind of placing humans back into nature and less into the spiritual and everything, and where does it fit within all that. It was about learning how the system functions and like the human body, and in a transhumanist or cyberpunk era, it's about kind of augmenting the system, kind of modifying the system. So first you need to understand it before you can boost it up, right? So it's almost as if the Renaissance was like the first step, like the stepping stone to a transhumanist era. And there's a whole bunch of other factors, just the visuals between cyberpunk and Renaissance. There's a lot of like things that kind of relate. So we got very excited about this, and we said, all right, great, let's try to give it our own spin. Let's try to give it our own voice by figuring out a way of infusing elements of the Renaissance into the cyberpunk visual pillars. At the beginning, we didn't know exactly what it meant. We just really believed in it, and then we said, let's try to do all the work that needs to be done to figure it out. So we started like reading and buying a whole bunch of books about that. And then the Icarus myth. At one point, we realized also that it could be cool if we find some kind of fable or some kind of myth, that relates to the themes we wanted to play with and the story we wanted to tell, and kind of use it as a back support. Again, all in the goal of giving it flavor and giving it its own voice and everything, and making something special. And then when we read the myth of Icarus, it seemed to make so much sense, right? Like when they get out of the maze, and they're like on that cliff, and there's nowhere to go, and there's the Minotaur and everything. Well, Daedalus' dad, just kind of builds the wings, for Icarus and himself, and which is basically an augmentation, right? Like we can't fly, so he builds that, and now they're able to fly. So the feathers are kind of attached together with wax, and he says, let's get the hell out of here. And then he goes, don't fly too close to the sun, right? Because the wax will melt. And Icarus starts having so much fun, right? He's flying, and he gets up in the air, and he gets too close to the sun, and the wax melts, and he just plummets to his death. And I'm like, this is it. This is such a great metaphor. It's like if you augment yourself, it's like all the dangers of getting too much into transhumanism stuff and modifying your body. It's like anything, if you over exaggerate, it's like a plastic surgery today, or just anything, there's like all the freakish stuff that can happen. And it's great because in all the books that we read, because we also bought a lot of books on transhumanism, like a lot of Ray Kurzweil stuff and all those guys, and we read all that. We did our homeworks, and all those books, they talk about the dangers also. Like even though most of those guys are promoting those technologies that are already here and the ones that are coming, they're still saying there's dangers related to that, right? Depending with what we do, and especially with singularity, what could happen. So I really thought that within that context, the myth of Icarus was just perfect. And then it ended up kind of working visually and working in the story. But it's really like I saw a post last night on the teaser, and someone was like, "What the hell, wings? Like this guy's gonna fly?" And it's like, it's not, it's a motif, it's a metaphor. It's not actually you can't take it literally.
But he will have cybernetic implants. We saw sort of a hint at ocular implants. He's got the arms. What can you tell us about our character, main character, in terms of his abilities?
Yeah. Well, what I can tell you is that it's Deus Ex, so it's an RPG, right? It's a first-person shooter RPG. So there's a lot of augmentations. We have dozens and dozens of stuff you can upgrade yourself with, and then those upgrades then can be upgraded themselves. There's all sorts of things. Obviously, things related to strength and things related to jumping higher and things related to having different types of vision. All sorts of defensive and offensive things also that go beyond just like punching someone in the face or whatever. There's all sorts of like cool defensive system, which I won't get into all the details right now. But a lot of those augmentations, you see them, kind of appearing in Adam when you buy them, when you upgrade them, and when he does his attacks and everything, you see them getting into action. The arms opening with whatever comes out from what you bought. He can break stuff. He can throw stuff. He can crush stuff. He can see through stuff. You can see more stuff on your radar, and just a lot of stuff is stuff that is almost like mandatory, right, for that kind of game. And there's like a whole layer where it's really our stuff, So yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I know there's a lot to learn about Deus Ex: Human Revolution, but you may not have an answer to this, but I have to ask. Can you tell us when the game is coming out?
I can tell you when the game's going to come out. What I can tell you is that it's going awesome. It's moving along really well. It's a huge endeavor. It wasn't easy. I mean, we all knew it. Just the fact that it was Deus Ex and everything. It's doing super well. The machine is churning. It's getting there, man. It's getting there. There's still some work to be done.
The machine is churning.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. Hey, Deus Ex: Human Revolution is coming soon. And Jonathan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, man. Awesome.